If you're watching this, it's because you read comics regularly. Or you're too stoned to click on anything else. But either way, you owe an incredibly large debt of gratitude to Len Wein, without whom our popular culture and entertainment would look massively different, and the 90s comic boom probably never would have happened. And without that 90s comic boom, Kevin Smith never would have made movies normalizing marijuana in American culture, and you probably wouldn't be getting stoned right now. I'm lifelong X-Men fan and tribute payer Dan Unthan. This is the Doomcast. If you want an exact pivot point at which comics ceased to be strictly kid stuff and grew up, the point at which an industry, franchise, and unique part of American culture shifted into the blockbuster business that it would be today, it's July of 1975, and it's this book, Giant Size X-Men #1, and the man most responsible for it is Len Wein. Legendary comic writer Len Wein passed away this month, a few months after Swamp Thing co-creator and friend Bernie Wrightson passed away. It's pretty hard to explain how different our world would look without Len Wein. At age 20, after years of taking office tours at DC Comics with high school friend and future DC powerhouse Marv Wolfman, which is also the name for a very casual werewolf, the two sold their first work to DC Comics. At age 23, Wein co-created Swamp Thing with Bernie Wrightson. By age 26, Wein co-created Wolverine, originally a one-off joke character that appeared in Hulk 181 and 182, who may or may not originally have been a mutated Wolverine cub. And less than a year later, Wein looked at the X-Men. The series, co-created in 1963 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, had stopped printing regular news stories about 5 years prior in 1970. Sales had slumped, and there was no longer really any interest in the characters at all. So, Len created new ones. An African thief and goddess Storm, East German circus swordsman and personal favorite X-Man of mine, NIGHTCRAWLER, Russian farmer Colossus, Native American warrior Thunderbird. Len included also previously shelved Canadian secret agent Wolverine, establishing him finally as a mutant and a member of the X-Men. Let's get something clear here. People created new characters all the time in the late 60s and the early 1970s. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were powerhouses because they had created so many original characters that had stood the test of time, that proved that they were something that people really cared about, except for at that point, the X-Men. The feat of creating almost half a dozen new characters in one issue that still end up being cultural icons almost 42 years later, that's nearly unheard of. Wein turned over the helm of the new regular X-Men series, which started at issue number 94, to Chris Claremont, who then wrote the series for another unprecedented 18 years. Louise Simonson, one of the first regular female writers of the industry, would helm X-Factor, focusing on the original 5 X-Men characters. By 1992, the X-Men were the most popular of characters, and their licensure for toy production is not only what saved Marvel, but arguably the entire comics industry. And it would do so a second time in 2000 with one of the first blockbuster comic adaptations, after Blade and Spawn of course, because let's please admit it when black heroes, characters, or actors accomplish something monumental, but still one of the first ensemble live-action superhero movies of the modern era. If you're in your 30s or 40s, try to imagine your childhood without Swamp Thing and X-Men toys, without the X-Men cartoon show. If you're younger, try to imagine what entertainment would look like without modern superhero films. Len fortunately lived to see something that he created become much bigger than himself. A Jewish kid from the Bronx, whose heroes were other grown Jewish kids like Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. He got to make his mark alongside Bernie Wrightson, Marv Wolfman, Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Louise Simonson, Alan Moore, Dave Cockrum, and many, many others. Also, if you did click on this accidentally because you're stoned and not because you like Len Wein, I know it, and I'm judging you. I'll stop if you click down here and then share over here. I promise I won't tell anybody you're high. Thanks everybody, this has been the Doomcast. I'll see you next week.